Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to introduce the Senior Suburban Orchestra. Just a little bit about them. The Senior Suburban Orchestra is a 50-person orchestra based in Downers Grove, Illinois. They are an all-volunteer organization that plays for the love of music, and through their outreach program, share that love of music with young and old. Their orchestra members come from throughout the Chicago area. The majority range in age from 40 plus to 90 plus, and have played their instruments from 3 to 70 years. Their founding members launched the Senior Suburban Orchestra in 2000. Their concerts include a mix of classical, theatrical, pop, and sing-along selections. They are proud to be touching hearts through music today. Please welcome the Senior Suburban Orchestra.
To be here. Of course, as you mentioned, we have the Chicago Symphony. My name is Ricardo Muti, the conductor of the group. We're doing a little run out here to Monarch Landing. We normally play Orchestra Hall downtown, but we had a day off, so we're here. No, we're of course the senior orchestra. My name is Dan Pasquale-D'Andrea. Now, who remembers us from before? We've been here several times. I don't know how many times we've been here, Vivian. How many times we've been here? 8 times? 5 times? Okay, so a lot of people. Now, who's hearing us for the very first time today? Who's hearing us for the very first time? Now, who has a bad memory and can't remember us at all? Okay, very good. Okay, I put my hand. Everyone in the orchestra should have their hand raised. Okay, so, any case, we're very glad to be back here and getting back to doing live concerts in person. This is our 3rd concert since the pandemic, so we just started back a month ago, giving the very first one. We were, like all groups, we were on pause since March of 2020. So finally getting back to normal, if you will, or some form of normal. So today's concert is a recognition or celebration of, or the first half of the concert, is of 2 composers born within 2 months of each other, which would become important icons, or at least highly influential composers in a genre of music that often gives short shrift. That genre is called operetta, and those 2 composers are Offenbach and Suppé. Both these 2 composers, again, mentioned born within 2 months of each other. And we're doing a delayed bicentennial. They were born originally in 1819, so 2019 would have been their 200th anniversary. And so various reasons, delayed, COVID, etc. But in any case, we're going to feature each of them. And that's the first composer you heard. The first piece you heard was by Offenbach. I think you have a program that has it. That was by his most famous work, or his work that lasts, that's still in the opera repertory. And that is, of course, the Tales of Hoffmann. But operetta, which Offenbach is also famous for, is a mention often given short shrift and sometimes looked down on. Offenbach, though, in many ways is perhaps the inventor of light opera, the founder, if you will. And we're talking in the 1850s, 1860s. So both these composers have very interesting parallels, Offenbach to pay. Neither of them are those their real names, their given names. For Offenbach, he was not originally born, well, not officially Jacques Offenbach. His real name, if you will, would be Jakob Everst. And that became, he got that name for a couple of reasons. One is his dad's original name was Everst. His dad, this is prior to him being born, used to live in a town called Offenbach am Main in Germany. And then the dad moved to another town, and his friends would call the dad the Offenbach, the guy from Offenbach. Eventually, he became Offenbach, and Jakob ended up getting Jacques when, at a young age, the dad took both Jakob and his brother to Paris, and got them both a position or placement into the Paris Conservatory at age 14. And so, Jakob became Jacques. So, he wrote an incredible amount of music. If you think someone is lazy, he wrote 90 operettas, 90 different operettas. He opened his own opera house because he couldn't get his pieces performed. And he eventually had a good amount of success, also had a decent amount of failure. He went bankrupt. And of course, he did like all bankrupt composers did back in Europe. He came to the United States. Because there was a lot of money back then. We're talking the 1870s, 1880s. A lot of money in the Industrial Revolution, right? The big country was booming. And so there are a number of composers that came over. Dvorak, most famously, Mahler, others came over. Johann Charles Jr. came over to the United States because they could offer a lot of money and make a good amount. So he did. Offenbach did. We forget about that, but composers did come to the U.S. So we go now to another piece of his from that same opera. And by the way, what you just heard doesn't necessarily appear in the opera, in that original guide. What you heard was the two segments. You heard the very opening, it's the very opening of the opera. And then later on, when it sounds like a minuet area type of piece, that happens before Act 2. This next piece you're going to hear is certainly the most famous from the opera and one of Jacques Offenbach's most famous work. This is the Barcarolle from Tales of Hoffmann. So Barcarolle is supposed to depict or set the scene of, well, let me ask, does anyone know what barca means in Italian or in French? Bark? No, anyone know barca? No? No? It means boat. Boat or ship. So, because the bark's in the tree, to some extent, you can think of it that way. In any case, so the scene setting in the opera is in Venice. Of course, what's Venice famous for? Gondolas. So, these are originally, this music happens in two places in the opera. One place is where two singers, singers are singing a duet in the gondola, and another place where this music is reprised with just orchestra alone, and that's what we're playing. So, sit back, consider yourself in the gondola on the Venice canals, and this is the Barcarolle from Tales of Hoffmann. Thank